Was it last winter or the winter before? On the edge of the sidewalk, two snails copulating, private, quiet, small.
So let's just say like 2:30. Okay, I'll tell them 2:30, and then if we go I can push back up. So let me talk to that with Jonathan and see what he has in the office. Okay, I'll talk to you in a bit. Thanks, bye. So I'm here at the Park Avenue Armory, where I've been given a studio for a year to make performances. The Under Construction series is a curated artist in residence program here at the Armory. They have a couple of curators that select artists that are working in New York City and just invite them to the Armory for a year to make a new work. So I'm able to use this as a design studio or as a rehearsal hall, however I want. When we have rehearsal, we just push everything out of the way and we use the room as a dance studio. And then when the performers leave, oftentimes I bring everything back and I spend a couple of days working on the design aspects of the show, and we turn it into sort of a design studio. My process is sort of a big, mad mess in a way. I mean, physically messy, like the room is oftentimes a huge mess, but also in my brain, there's all these things happening. There tends to be a lot of people in the room with me, design assistants, as well as performers, as well as production people. That's just how I work. I don't write a play and then figure out how to produce it. I write the play as I'm producing it, as I'm designing it, as I'm directing it. So it all just happens at the same time. Right now I'm just building the piece. So at the end of this month, we'll have a public presentation for invited guests only at the Kitchen, which is a performance space in Chelsea. And all of these little small cells that I've been working on in the Armory studio, this catalog of movement sketches and this catalog of ideas, I'll be able to take to the Kitchen and start putting them together and figure out how they work together and if they work together. I'm working on this new play, Elijah Green, and that is the name of one of my closest friends' oldest child. He's about 11 years old now. He's just sort of becoming a man now, and he's asking these bigger questions about life and existence. And at the same time, I was thinking of making this play, which was about life and existence. So I was talking to him about it one day, and I was just like, I should just name the play after this kid, Elijah Green. So I did. Before the prologue happens, there's sort of like a pre-show moment where everything's in silence and we basically have this voiceover. We have a sound test of it. So all of these voices from all the performers are laid on top of each other, saying the same text. So it sounds like this kind of non-voice, but yet every voice. It's very strange. I don't know if I'll keep it or not, but we go into blackness and then this voiceover happens and it basically establishes that there's this God about to come to Earth. And then we see this light turn on. Basically the God says, I'm coming to Earth now. We have this light that turns on. My work tends to involve some kind of transient person or spirit that transcends its own time and place. That's an idea that I've kind of been returning to unconsciously. The story of Elijah Green is very loosely inspired by Strindberg's dream play. There's this spirit that lives in heaven and that is wondering why humans complain so much. In order to answer that question, this God comes down and makes herself manifest in human form, has an experience, and then goes back to the heavens. That's Strindberg's version, but I haven't read that play. I have a dramaturg friend that knows me really well, and so she basically gives me an outline of a dream play, and then she inserts in her outline particular images that I can latch onto. That's enough for me to go and begin to write a piece of text or begin to create a piece of movement or create a tableau with a performer. I feel like reading the whole text beginning to end obligates me to have this faithful adaptation. So in my version, we have these 8 principal performers that are all sort of on stage at the same time. So this is the audience now, seated on all 4 sides, and they're kind of looking down into the space. So their risers are 6 feet high off the ground. And then on stage are the performers. They're all holding stuff or they're doing stuff. There's not a lot of big, heavy set pieces. They're all like handheld modular props. They're like just a series of things that have a shape that's recognizable, like this neoclassic bust or even this like cheap little vase right here. It still has some kind of like classic form to it. All of these set pieces are from our contemporary life, but they reference something timeless. Maybe we should look at the Bruegel paintings first. That's kind of the starting point anyway. Here, I'll bring it to you. So this is like the starting point for this like whole visual world. So you can see that it's much like a Where's Waldo painting where you have no idea what to focus on until we have
Andrew's vision is so precise. He thinks on a very big scale for the types of venues and the resources that we have. So it's about how to make his vision fit, because he's not just the director, he's also the writer, he's the designer. He works a lot in fashion, so he has a very clear sense of how he wants things to look.
So this is a real strong visual connection to what I'm working on. So you can see we're inventing our own work based on the Bruegel paintings. And sometimes we're actually, I mean, this is an explicit reference where we're replicating a Bruegel painting to a certain degree. This is from the Bruegel painting as well. I always start with something very visual and something very concrete. It usually is a piece of artwork of some sort, and usually not a piece of contemporary artwork. I've really focused this performance on these Peter Bruegel the Elder paintings. Peter Bruegel the Elder was a painter who departed from the traditional subjects of aristocracy or royalty. He was one of the first painters that painted what they call genre paintings, which is people doing everyday things. We have a painting called Children's Games, and it just illustrates people playing games. There's a painting called The Nederlandish Proverbs, and it just illustrates the different proverbs of the day. It seems like a very simple thing, but at the time it was a great departure from what was happening in art history. To turn your attention from someone that could be paying your bills to turning your attention to the person who serves you your meal at the little tavern. In making my performance, I really wanted to find some sort of beauty and poetry in the mundane nature of our lives. So I love these Bruegel paintings, but they're all just a bunch of Flemish white people. And I love the idea of them, but I wanted my performance to, of course, reflect my reality. So I wanted to populate the stage, much like Bruegel populates his canvases. I wanted to populate with the stage with my contemporaries and see what kind of relationships can emerge. Pulling different people from different performance backgrounds, combining an opera singer with a Broadway dancer, and everyday people into the performance as well. The local priest of my church in Brooklyn is going to be in the play as well, and he's not a performer, he's just a priest. My mom is coming in from Nashville, and she's going to be in the play, so she might iron her shirt for 20 minutes, and then she might go do a prayer for 15 minutes, and then she might go peel a potato for 15 minutes. It's much like going into a city building, and everyone is related to that building, but no one's related to each other, or going to a subway station, and everyone is related somehow because you're getting on the subway, but you really have no connection to each other.
I met Andrew at the Watermill Center where Robert Wilson has his summer program in 2008, and he found me interesting. He asked me to be in his play, and ever since we have been collaborating.
I'm a writer and performer. Andrew emailed me and said that he wanted to meet with me and talk about the possibility of writing a role for me. I said that sounded like fun, and that's how I wound up being in this very strange play.
Andrew picks actors and collaborators based on the alchemy that he wants in the room, having as diverse a group as possible, not just in terms of ethnicities and cultures, but also in terms of age. It's kind of a beautiful thing to watch this world of so many different energies colliding.
So right now I'm in a musical called An American in Paris on Broadway, and so I've been working here pretty much 10 to 6, and then I'll go and do my show at night. and that's really hard, but I love process. I'm very curious about how everyone makes things, how we all do that. So it is very rewarding to have this very full explorative rehearsal period right before my show, because it's actually made the show better. Like, I feel more inspired to do my show.
Sorry, Johnny. And then
The boundaries are very clear when you're doing a musical. But with something like this, it's not, which is very exciting to me personally. I really love the core of the play. So for me, being a part of something like this, I love that it pulls from a lot of different sort of genres or inspirations. Like, everyone's coming from really different places.
My character comes in at the end of the prologue. She's the only one that's pulled in on a carriage, so to speak. She's kind of fancy. He is very professional. He calls me Mom, but he treats me like everyone else. Not being an actress, not being a professional person, I am a little amazed that he would even want me in his play. So when he asks, of course I'm honored. I'm a little wary. I'm wondering what does he really want, you know? But I'm kind of a drama queen, so I say yes.
I am a dance artist who basically makes my own work and have pretty much spent my entire career doing that. I've never actually collaborated inside a theater project.
Yeah. Can you do it with the ball?
I wasn't really sure what to expect, and one thing that I was also really clear with Andrew, I was like, this isn't what I do, and so I'm not actually sure I know how to do this, and that was actually part of the appeal. I have very little experience working with people who have different kinds of physical training, and particularly I have very little experience working with actors who may or may not have certain kinds of spatial awareness skills or rhythmic skills or skills about time. So it's been an interesting and also really challenging process to try and figure out, well, like, how do I make something that I'm interested in that they're also capable of doing?
My theater is very different from a lot of other theaters happening in New York. If you go uptown to Broadway, you might see a realistic drama. You might see a beautiful revival of an Arthur Miller play starring a movie star. And in my work, I'm not interested in that. I am interested in working with contemporary performers and really building a performance around their specific talents. So for our schedule for the day, we're gonna pick up where we left off, which is this moment coming out of Fruit Cocktail into Bingo, into Edgar's scene. I'm gonna cut the Bingo, so we're just gonna go straight from the Fruit Cocktail to Edgar's moment. John and I have sort of begun to figure out what the end result will be, so we'll kind of set that picture and then we'll backstep and figure out how we get there. From like Mike doing the hula hoop across to Mom doing the curls with the rocks. Anyway, so let's do that. Let's set up for Fruit Cocktail and we'll see how that goes from there.
I'm your new neighbor. Did I catch you at a bad time? Would you like some fruit cocktail?
Yes. Pause. Yuki, why don't you ask the group as well, would you like some fruit cocktail? And then everyone can say yes and then go.
Would anyone like some fruit cocktail? Yes.
Edgar, can you go stand on that little pink square there at C2? That little pink mark at the intersection, yeah. The light goes out of Stuart as soon as he turns. We're in darkness now.
I don't know what he sees.
And as soon as things kind of clear out a little bit.
He writes this character.
The light
It has
goes on
my
Edgar.
name on it, but it's him.
I love his writing. I think that he is just a really fascinating writer. My character is named Edgar. Edgar seems like a lonely person. He likes to hold people's hands. He seems very perplexed by the play, and he seems to be filled with woe at the prospect of aging. I don't know whether it's Andrew's perception of me. I don't think so. I think Andrew, through all the characters, is just trying to express certain aspects of being human.
It's a little bit odd. It's the first time I've had this experience where I'm not playing someone else, nor am I playing myself, but it is my name that I respond to on stage. My character, like all of the characters in this play, loves, has fear, has anger, is human. She is Helga, and she's also you, and she's me too. Andrew said to me, I'd love for you to be in this piece, and I love working with performers who I can muse off of. I think that with every single one of us, he found a way in to something that we don't necessarily know about ourselves, or a thing that we don't often reveal.
Great. We're making progress. This is good. Go, please.
I don't even have a glass to put upon you. It's just me here. I don't even have a simple martini glass. This place sucks.
We're all playing a heightened version of ourselves. In the show, I'm Tanya Selvaratnam, but the arc of my story is very different from my own personal one. I try being Satan. I try being this glamour girl wearing this very extravagant wig, and then finally I turn myself into a table, because a table has no slippery emotions, and so there's no conflict.
Yes! I'm not afraid of anything when I'm like this, Edgar. Human emotions can sway me no longer. Nothing can hurt me. I went to Harvard University.
I punctuate the end of a line by saying, I went to Harvard University in an extremely obnoxious way, and that is one of the aspects of my storyline that is true, because I did go to Harvard University, but it's like poking fun at myself, and Andrew pokes fun at himself. He has a real sense of humor about himself and also the art of theater making. The resources that we have to make this work, it's kind of ridiculous.
I don't know who's gonna wear it. I'm just making a bunch of single pieces that I like, and then we'll figure out who wears them and when. We should try a dress on someone actually today. Some of the fabrics are like hand painted, and some of them are African prints.
What do you want to do when you say chop it up?
It becomes like a cummerbund, or it becomes a kimono piece, or it becomes a head wrap or something else. Right now it's just like a piece of vintage piece, like dress we found in the thrift store.
Yeah, I thought you wanted to use it as a dress, though.
Oh,
but
why do you want to use it?
No, I thought you did.
Oh, no. I'm working with this organization called the Ethical Fashion Initiative, and it's a small organization that's a subsidiary of the United Nations. And what they do is they take artisans from developing countries and they pair them with mass market fashion. And so it really empowers these women. They get jobs, they get money. It's not a charity. And so what I'm interested in is collecting items that these women produce from all over the world, and then we'll piece them together in different ways to create these costumes. So it is kind of this very collaborative effort, even though these people don't know me and they're from all different parts of the world.
To do it alone, and he has to command that. My feeling the other day when that happened, by the way.
What happened?
When he does the string dance. Is like, there's way too much activity energy. Like, that's a moment where it needs to be like...
Yeah, but John, that's what we're fixing now. Like all of that transition stuff, that's what we're working on now. We did all of this in less than 2 minutes the other day, and now we have 8 minutes.
Okay, well maybe I'm not remembering correctly what happened.
Let's just stick to this list. So, at the end of Fruit Cocktail...
Oh my god!
What? I'm trying to make sure we're moving forward and not just like wallowing in the chaos that exists right now.
Okay, I would describe my efforts as something other than wallowing in the chaos that exists right now, but that's fine, whatever. I do think Andrew works much quicker and much more like, place this here, shove that there. Oh, I'm going to change this. We'll take this out and move it over here. And immediately my sense is calculating the myriad of different rippling effects that will move out from that kind of a really quick change. So it's akin to, like, if you're really used to working with sandpaper as kind of your tool and very finely, like, shaving off light things, and then you get in a collaborator who really likes to work with a chainsaw. So the tricky part is to find the space where that difference of viewpoint and difference of skill set becomes an asset rather than just a stumbling block where you're constantly fighting one another.
Half hour, you guys.
Today we just had a run through, a dress rehearsal, and now we're about to have a showing. I'm a bit nervous, but excited.
We have to preset these tables.
I have butterflies in my stomach. I have to go to the bathroom. All of those things that indicate a person is not relaxed.
I just jumped into that because I had no idea.
I don't like to show work in progress. I'm really someone who likes to finish a piece, and then once I know what it is, once I know what I like, then I can put it in front of an audience, and then go from there. I'm really not someone who usually prefers to have a process of public showings throughout the creative process. But in this particular instance, it just made sense logistically, practically, for that to happen. The benefit of having a work in progress is that you do have an audience who's usually a gentle audience, who's usually an informed theater goer, who is there and they can give not just critical feedback, but just general observations of what they saw and where their attention went. Oftentimes I find that my attention is so focused here, but then the audience is looking at something across the stage.
I hope that for the audience that it looks effortless, but we are really, really, really paying attention, and every detail, every movement is carefully choreographed. You need a lot of energy, a lot of physical energy and a lot of emotional energy for this work. I sing a song in the piece called Viciousness is Mercy. She says that one day that she was walking in the street and she saw two snails copulating and she stepped on them, that they were headed for danger.
Was it last winter or the winter before? On the edge of the sidewalk, two snails copulating, private, quiet, they were headed for danger. They were headed for danger. With the heel of my shoe, I pressed them hard, crashing. Cupid's golden spiral.
I'm curious to know what danger she thought two snails making love were headed toward. However, the play really holds a space in its chaos and in its order for us to have the experience of things that sometimes we keep hidden, like our cruelty.
was just sitting here thinking, you know, how did I even get involved in this universe?
It just happens. Don't get your hands in the lot.
And here today, why did I even organize these people and get them wrapped up in my own private sensations?
Artists do that because they're egomaniacs.
I killed myself in the play because the play ended up being about me. The play started out as one thing involving a group of people, and over the course of a few months, it evolved to just be about me and my life. And so at some point, it made sense for me to actually enter the piece, and then it made even more sense that someone that I had orchestrated to be there murder me.
Sometimes these things happen, you know? A feeling. And then suddenly, there's so much inside that it forces its way out.
You know, it's kind of like walking around with your pants down. It's like there's not much that you can hide at that point. There's an audience there, and they're expecting a performance to a certain extent, even though this morning I changed multiple things. So it's kind of a little bit of an arbitrary point to enter the process, but it is, it's necessary. We're in July, and the piece won't premiere until March. So I have between now and March to flesh out the design work, to revise the text, return to the rehearsal room, see how that evolves, and also to fundraise, which is a big part of making new work. This is the third time I've done this sort of intense month-long workshop process. And after each one, I learn something else, and I always go back to the drawing board and rewrite and rethink, and I recast. I bring in completely new people in some instances. So between now and March, when we premiere, it'll look or feel very different than it does now. And that's the nature of making art.